Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror, we'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Welcome to the Kulturecast. I'm Chris Stachiw. Sean Liang is out again today. He is still doing what he does best and acting. However, I am joined by frequent guest of the Kulturecast, director Matt Campagna.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And today we're going to be talking about surprisingly the most controversial film of this year, I would say, wouldn't you? It's pretty fucking controversial.
I don't know. This came out the same year as Batman v Superman, so it's...
Yeah.
They're jockeying. I gotta say, they're both jockeying for position for winning that one.
Yeah, like the fan bases for these films are pushing one another to the brink of destruction with the amount of vitriol they've directed at both films.
Which is interesting because you've got one movie where, you know, there's 75 years worth of comic books and cartoons and other movies and so much material for people to be fans of, and then you've got this other franchise that's 2 frigging movies, and one of them is basically the same as the other one. So it's like, really, what are you so excited about?
Hey, you know what? That's fans for you.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's true.
Yeah. So I actually think let's just forego talking about anything we've watched this week because I feel like we're going to have enough to talk about.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Just between the two of us, I know because we've talked a little bit before the podcast, and I kind of know that you and I are coming at this two different mindsets. So, Ghostbusters 2016 came out last Friday. It's directed by,
or as I like to call it, Ghostbusters.
Yes, Ghostbusters 2016. You can't call it. I guess you could call it Ghostbusters, but if you just say Ghostbusters, people won't know what movie you're referencing.
Oh, I think they'll pick it up pretty quick.
Let me put it this way. You say Ghostbusters, and there's kind of only one movie people are talking about when it's Ghostbusters right now, right?
Yep.
So it came out last Friday, directed by Paul Feig.
You got me. I'm not really sure.
Paul Feig. Written by Katie Dippold and Paul Feig. It stars Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, and Leslie Jones as the Ghostbusters, and the IMDb synopsis for the film is, following a ghost invasion of Manhattan, paranormal enthusiasts Aaron Gilbert and Abby Yates, nuclear engineer Gillian Holtzman, and subway worker Patty Tolan band together to stop the otherworldly threat.
Class 4 apparition. It's okay. She seems peaceful. My name is Aaron Gilbert, Doctor of Particle Physics. That stuff went everywhere, by the way, in every crack. Very hard to wash off.
We have dedicated our whole lives to studying the paranormal. Now there's sightings all over the city.
There are people out there that need our help. Holtzman, you're a brilliant engineer. Aaron, no one's better at quantum physics than you. We can provide a real service.
I'm joining the club. You guys are really smart about this science stuff, but I know New York. And I can borrow a car from my uncle.
You didn't disclose that the vehicle was going to be a hearse.
It's a Cadillac!
Let's go.
Let's go.
Oh. Did you want to?
Sorry. I'll let you.
Next time. Okay.
Someone is creating a device that amplifies paranormal activity. And we might be the only ones who can stop it.
Holtzman, come on.
The hat is too much, right? Is it the wig or the hat?
There's a bigger picture at hand here. These ghosts can possess the human form.
Oh, hell no, the devil is a liar! Get out of my friend, ghost!
Ow, that's going to leave a mark.
The power of panic compels you!
Ow!
Like I said, Matt, you and I have very different opinions on the film, so let's just get right into it. What's your quick take on the film?
Oh, I thought it was the best Ghostbusters movie yet, which, you know, I currently believe there are 3 Ghostbusters movies, the only different before this one. And I feel like the 2009 video game, Ghostbusters, since it has the entire voice cast, and with the exception, I think, of Sigourney Weaver, I guess Rick Moranis wasn't there either, but with the exception of those 2 guys, they had the whole cast for that video game. So As far as I can tell, there are 3 movies, and this movie makes 4. And I love the hell out of it. To me, this is my favorite one.
You could say this movie is just one, right?
Well, here's the thing about this movie that I enjoyed the most. It's hard to reboot a franchise. It's hard to recast iconic characters. It's hard to change people's perceptions of intellectual property. And I think J.J. Abrams did it right when he decided to reboot Star Trek. And I'm not saying whether it was a good movie or a bad movie, but I think his system that he came at it from was correct, which is make sure you don't undo the stuff people love. And so by making sure that he's splintering off time in 2 different directions, you're able to go back and recast Kirk and tell new Kirk stories, because now you're in the JJ verse, which is different than the Roddenberry verse. And so
I believe it's the Kelvin universe now. They even gave it a name recently.
Yeah, the Kelvin verse.
Yeah.
I think it's weird because people will know what you mean when you say the JJ verse.
Right, yeah. J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like the Abrams verse and the Roddenberry verse living separately makes both of them, it honors both of them. I mean, Brian Fuller can go ahead and make a series based on the Roddenberry verse, and Paramount can keep making movies in the JJ verse, and I think it's brilliant. And there's something equally brilliant done here with this film, because we're going to get into spoilers pretty quickly here. There are cameos in this film that are really interesting cameos. They are time-correct cameos that sort of, they dance off the problem that I have, that everybody has with Ghostbusters 2, which is that it's the same movie. It starts up with the Ghostbusters being nobodies, being hacks, being silly, being forgotten about. Well,
hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
they saved Manhattan and everybody knows it. So what the hell? So the idea that, how did people forget about the Ghostbusters is kind of ridiculous and part of the problem with that movie. The neat thing about this movie is that it kind of allows you to hang a lantern on the fact that, of course, the Ghostbusters happened 30 years ago. And what we did was put the most qualified people imaginable in charge of debunking bullshit. And so Venkman gets a new identity and becomes this professional debunker. And then Spangler, of course, Egon, winds up teaching none other than the main scientist in this new movie everything she knows about physics. And then the fact that Ray, of course, would be as much of a lunatic as anybody, they probably had to lobotomize that guy. But the fact that Patty and her uncle happens to also be Winston Zeddemore allows this universe to exist in a place where Homeland Security knows about ghosts. This was not the world that our first Ghostbusters movie was in. It exists in a world where the mayor of New York has an entire division responsible for this. This movie is a sequel. This movie is a sequel that rests in a really interesting hinterland between a delayed sequel that allows everybody to admit what happened in the previous movie happened, and it exists in this cool place where this movie is allowed to stand on its own because the people of New York have forgotten about this. The people of New York have, for supernatural reasons, not known about what happened before. And what's the precedent for this? Ghostbusters 2, when everybody forgot about the mass hysteria and dogs and cats living together of the first movie. So the great thing about this Ghostbusters movie is not just that it's funnier than the other two. It's not just that it's smarter and better crafted. It's not just that the story works in a better way and you get to see the evolution of these characters better than you do in the other movies. All that's true. But this movie also allows you to appreciate and love the fact that it respects and lives in the same universe as the other Ghostbusters movies.
Man. Oh, man. Holy shit, Matt. I mean, you and I are pretty close on our movie opinions on a lot of the stuff that you've been on the podcast about.
Yep.
Okay. So the thing I want to address before I say anything about the movie. Okay.
Now, before you get started, I want to ask, just so listeners know, when was the last time you saw Ghostbusters? The first Ghostbusters?
1 and 2? About a month ago.
Okay, I watched it last night immediately after watching the new Ghostbusters film. So I just want you to know that when I talk about them being tighter, funnier, it's because I have a very vivid, very accurate memory comparing the two at this point, because I saw them both on the same day, which was yesterday.
Right.
Okay.
No, and like I said, I saw it like a month ago, maybe even less than that. I watched 1 and 2 same evening.
Cool.
Before I say anything, okay. Yep. This whole thing, and I think you can agree with me, and even though you liked it, I think you can agree with me, this movie doesn't deserve nearly any of the attention that it's getting, positive or negative. In a way of like, look, and this is I neither liked nor disliked the movie. It was just kind of meh. It was that middle ground that is the worst thing for me that a movie can be, which is I don't have a real like feeling on it either way. It's just kind of that's kind of my take on the movie. But like if I meet someone, and I don't know anyone like this who's like a super fanboy of Ghostbusters, and I enjoy Ghostbusters. I've built a Ghostbusters cosplay outfit, and I'm going to Chicago Wizard World next month, and I'm going to be wearing it, and so is my fiance. She's going to be wearing the one that her and I built for her. But I choose not to get involved in things that are as inflammatory and incendiary as some of the vocal minority. And they're vocal minority. It's a minority of fans. Most of the fans of Ghostbusters aren't like that. It's a vocal minority of fans and internet trolls. I mean, let's just be honest here. Some people are just
keep in mind the fact that the Ghostbusters trailer is still the most disliked video on YouTube right now, which means it's not that minor of a minority. It was, however, people who didn't have anything to base the opinion on except an ad for the product they were slagging. And if you don't like the ad for the product, that doesn't mean you're not going to like the product.
Right, but to be fair, a trailer for a movie is an advertisement trying to sell you on it, right? I mean, That's the point of a trailer, right?
Yeah, but the thing you have to bear in mind, and I've, in my, meteoric rise to making feature films, there was a time where I was editing trailers for a living. And editing a movie trailer is not like editing a movie. You're trying to sell something based on what 15 different voices in your ear are all telling you to do. And it's like, you've got the sales agent who's telling you it'll sell this well in this territory based on these metrics. You've got the producer who's got his instincts. You've got all of these different voices, as well as the director, as well as all the people who want to have a say, have a stake in this film, trying to make a trailer. And I got to say, the trailers for the original Ghostbusters movies are pretty shitty, but that's only by our current established genre of horror comedy. In 1984, there was not an established genre. Horror comedy was a very new thing. The very first horror comedy, arguably, and the one that defined the genre, is American Werewolf in London, and that was a brand new movie. So we are now sitting in a place where the horror comedy has a life of its own, and people know exactly what to expect from it. And I gotta say, this is a film that is advertised like a horror comedy perfectly. If people don't like the way that's being advertised, then they probably don't really like horror comedy.
Yeah, but I think, again, you mentioned that, it is the most downvoted thing on YouTube.
Yep.
And I didn't like the trailer because I didn't think that anything the trailer presented was funny. I didn't laugh. And it was supposed to be a horror comedy. Mind you, if I'm not laughing at the jokes, then it's failing as a comedy, and I didn't particularly find the movie to be scary. I mean, the first scene is probably as close as it gets to horror. And mind you, the original Ghostbusters isn't scary anyways. So
yeah, I mean, the amount of scary that the new Ghostbusters movie has is pretty much on par with the old Ghostbusters. This
right.
Beat for beat, like the same moments of scary are still scary. But
and that's my problem, is that it's so beat for beat. This movie has a hard time standing on its own as its own movie.
I disagree 100%. This is why.
Because it's so close to the original.
It's really not. Ghostbusters 1 and 2 follow each other almost exactly. This movie follows for the first act and a half and then diverts heavily. It diverts heavily because who's the villain of the first Ghostbusters movie? I'll tell you who the villain is. Fucking coincidence. Coincidence is the villain of the first movie. There's nothing actually being driven forward by any sentient being that you can call a villain for the first half of the Ghostbusters film. It's coincidence and like goofy, weird shit happening for no reason. And then when one thing explodes, it's considered a sign. And then when it's considered a sign, that's when crazy shit happens. It's all a coincidence. The second movie is built on plot convenience as well. And you've got one character who's like the lackey of Vigo, and that winds up giving you a bit of a anthropomorphized threat, but still no real villain. The Ghostbusters 3, as I like to call it, or the video game, has a villain, and it's quite smart the way they play that. I don't want to spoil that for people who maybe haven't checked it out, but it's really friggin' cool, and there's a 3-hour video game walkthrough that is cut out of the video game. It's a great movie in and of itself. But there's a villain in that, and that's the good thing about Ghostbusters 3. In a lot of ways, the video game's better than either of the first two movies. But the great thing about Ghostbusters 3, that villain, is that they realize that's what the first two Ghostbusters both missed. That's why they both kind of fall a bit flat when it comes to the actual driving plot. It's funny and goofy and they follow stuff through, but this movie had a driving plot and managed to have a villain that had an opinion, had a point of view, and we followed that point of view to the point where it wound up causing some really interesting problems for our heroes. That, to me, the fact that there's a hero you can track from the beginning to the end and there's a villain you can track from the beginning to the end makes this in so many ways a more satisfying film.
Man, there are so many problems with the villain in this movie. Like his motivation and just what he's trying to do, how he's trying to do it, why so much. There's so much plot holes in this movie of stuff that, like, okay, so let's just assume we're going to talk spoilers, because one of the biggest things that bothers me is they don't even try. They completely take the end of the original movie, the setup of the pick the form of your destroyer.
Yeah.
They set that up in this movie, right? But in the original movie, they're fighting an otherworldly being who has clearly some sort of power. In this movie, it's a guy who kills himself because he's bullied or society looks down on him. It's never really explained, but you get the idea that he's some sort of a nerd.
Well,
he's a nerd.
If you live in the world where Ghost Bros have been smack talking this movie before even seeing it, then you know exactly who this guy is, because this guy is that.
Right.
This guy is the personification of the misogyny of the down on their luck, no excuse for the world hating me, but the world hates me. Well, the world hates you because you're a dick, and the fact that you're a dick made you into more of a dick because the world hates dicks. And it's this interesting thing where all of the tongue-in-cheek dick humor of the first movie in this film becomes vagina humor. I found quite funny, maybe because I wrote a bunch of vagina jokes for Tactical Girls, but I find vagina jokes just as funny as dick jokes. And I think that the creation of this villain that exists in the space of the perfect hater of Ghostbusters 2016, as you call it, is one of the most brilliant aspects of this film. It's just such a perfect villain for this movie, for today, and certainly for an all-female cast. It's brilliant.
See, here's the thing. So in the original movie, they did not make it a point to be men versus women. And no. for a movie that has had so much misogyny leveled against it, right? Perceived and just implied, right? I don't know how many people were being misogynistic, or people were just perceiving it as misogynistic because 4 women were cast in the main roles. The film goes out of its way to kind of be, I don't want to say it. I think the word misandry is a word that not a lot of people know, but it's the opposite of misogyny, and it's men hating. And I don't think the movie's men hating, but
no, it's emasculating.
There's a lot of shit in this. There's this shit in this movie that I watch and I'm like, you don't have to go out of your way to make every male character in the movie either an idiot or an asshole. Because in the original Ghostbusters, they didn't do that. And the female aspect of this movie, with the way they did some of the stuff in the film, it feels like a gimmick. It feels like a gimmick, and that drummed up all that controversy for Sony, which all that did for Sony was benefit them. It benefited them in the best way possible, because what does controversy do? Controversy drums up interest. It gives people a side to fight for. And if people become invested in something, obviously they're going to, I think if people didn't give a shit about this movie, people would not have gone and seen it and fought for it as hard as they did. But Sony and Paul Feig did something that, as a business person as I am, along with a movie lover, it's fucking genius.
Oh yeah.
He made a movie where people were going to get pissed off either way, and people who thought it looked like shit went and saw it. People who thought it looked good and were, fighting the male patriarchy and all that, whatever. I'm not going to get into it because it's not. I have no dog in that fight. Those people would go and see it. I mean, there were reviews for the film that were like, if you don't go see this movie, you're not a feminist. Like, cut the shit, okay? That's, if you want to make a Ghostbusters movie and your Ghostbusters movie is some grand statement on feminism, that's not what Ghostbusters should be about. It should be about entertaining the audience.
Here's an important thing for you to bear in mind, and maybe you might want to watch the first Ghostbusters movie again with this in mind. The first Ghostbusters movie does not have a single female character that is not either mostly naked or the member of a romance, one way or another, or unrequited love, something to that effect. So there's that element for females in that movie to begin with. So it is massively misogynist in that way. And then
Janine
is in the middle of an unrequited love. And I think that is a hugely important thing. You cannot have a female character in this movie unless she's scantily clad or she's part of a romance or an unrequited love of some kind. That is a hugely misogynistic point of view. And it was just a casual bit of misogyny that seeped into something from the 80s because that's where we were in the 80s. And there was nothing particularly insane about Gozer being mostly naked. There was nothing particularly insane at the time about Dana being like basically a sex object for the back half of the movie. All of those things were just how the world was at the time. And so when we fast forward to now and we say, oh, the women in this film, 3 out of 4 of them, I mean, there's no driving love story in this film, which is huge for a movie with women in it. That's a massively interesting and important subject in this film. It is about sisterhood and friendship in a way that the first movie was a bromance between 4 dudes. This movie is about 4 women in a really special way and in a very modern way. If we were to make a movie now about 4 guys who are walking around with like with like dick things, with phallic guns in their hands that they have to hold low right where their pelvises are. They have to turn on each other's balls to then power them up. And then they're not supposed to cross the stream. Everything about that is just a casual misogyny male joke about sex, about gender, about anatomy, right down to the fact that there's a blowjob ghost scene with Ray Stantz in the first film. Like there's a lot of sexuality in that film. And I think we are remiss if we forget that the first Ghostbusters movie is filled with male sexuality. And so the fact that this one pokes a bunch of fun at Chris Hemsworth, which I got to say, this is my favorite Chris Hemsworth performance ever. He was incredible in this film. He was hilarious. He was just on fire constantly. And I don't usually enjoy Chris Hemsworth unless he's comedic. He was so hilarious in this film. And, you know, they couldn't just make a male Janine because then you're really making the first movie again. So they had to make him something else. They made him into the thing that they couldn't make Janine into. Because even the 80s knew that if Janine was a dit, that wouldn't be good. That would be very bad for the world, for women, for everything in general, as far as equality that was being fought for in the 80s. We live in a time now where a handsome cisgender white male is the butt of every joke that is safe. And so if we're going to have some dumb blonde jokes, we're going to have it about Chris Hemsworth. If we're going to poke some fun at a dit character, it's going to be him. And that's the world we live in right now. There may be some blowback to that in 10 years, but right now, it's a safe joke.
Man, you and I are just, I think this is the first time I have, like, diametrically opposed.
Oh, that's why it's fun.
Yeah,
that's
no.
Why it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah. I'm sitting here wondering, like, the you know, some of the characters in the movie, I would say the characters that matter, the main four characters and then Chris Hemsworth character, and I know you're gonna probably be aghast at this, they are one-note stereotypes.
Oh, but so are the Ghostbusters in the first movie. You've got the sexy scoundrel, you've got the beating heart dweeb, you've got the science nerd, and you've got the street black man, and it's like,
whoa! I gotta take offense at the street black man.
Well, see, I gotta agree with you because the street everyman that shows up and doesn't have a doctorate is the one spot where this Ghostbusters movie let me down. And it's because we moved forward on feminism in so many ways. We moved towards equality in the sexes in this movie in huge ways, but we missed intersectionality big time because we still have the black character who shows up partway through, doesn't have an important doctorate of some kind that gives them the kind of legitimacy that the other ones have, and is just like the streetwise, I know this city kind of character. And I gotta say, that disappointed me about this new movie because I thought, it's been 30 years. Have we moved forward on the race, on the racial issue? No, we've not moved forward a fucking iota. And that irritated me immensely. I would have loved to have seen the character that McKinnon played. If she was black, I would have enjoyed that immensely. Let's have a well-educated, a powerful, a right off the hop, useful member of the team be of color. Have her be Asian. Have her be something other than just three white people who pick up a black person partway through. That, to me, was the one on-the-nose homage to the first one that I thought really I could have done without.
But see, in the original, Winston, who's my favorite character in the original, I've said it before,
He's
and I'd
awesome.
say it again. Yeah, because he is the audience in the film. He is the lens through.
He shouldn't show up 45 minutes into a movie if that's what he is.
No, but he is the audience that the whole film is viewed through as a lens because he is the only one that doesn't believe in ghosts, and he's the one that we would project ourselves onto, a lot of us, because we'd be like, okay, I mean, I don't know what the fuck's going on. And
no, I think you misremember Winston. I think you misremember Winston. He shows up at a time when the Ghostbusters are doing really great business, and everyone believes in ghosts. Winston shows up and says, I'll believe in anything you want me to believe if there's a paycheck.
Because he's just trying to make money.
A skeptic. Yeah, Winston's not a skeptic at all. He's just a willing participant.
But I'll believe anything you say means that he doesn't give a shit one way or another.
Yeah, it's
not a matter of him being a skeptic. It's just a matter of him. He is an everyman.
Yeah. He's absolutely the everyman.
But they never make a joke about his blackness at his expense.
No,
and they never accentuate it. And the new movie goes out of its way to do that. And along with, Melissa McCarthy, get it? Her character's fat, so she loves food. And Kristen Wiig, she's a nerd, and nerds don't know how to talk to the other gender, regardless of if it's a guy talking to a girl or a girl talking to a guy, so she's super awkward around Chris Hemsworth. And then you have, Kate McKinnon, whose character just says strange things throughout the entire film, and just kind of rattles off these strange things.
But that's Ray Stance's character with his Category 5 vapors. Like, that's he and Egon spend most of the movie speaking in a language nobody understands.
No, but I'm not talking about the techno babble that she has, the stuff that they brought in the expert from MIT to make sure that their fake technology was real, as Paul Feig went out of his way to say a million times.
So what do you mean then?
I'm talking about when they are in the situations with the ghosts.
Yeah.
Like, everybody has like that one friend who's eccentric, and normally they're pretty good about it, but sometimes their eccentricity becomes a little too much. That's her character.
She's
okay
the hipster
for like but it's not hipster interesting. It's hipster just like, all right, like it's kind of one note, and it's
I found it hipster fascinating. I really enjoyed her character.
It's just kind of cartoony. It's like it's super cartoony, and I know that they weren't trying to make it cartoony. I mean, I'm talking about all the characters are just like stereotypical one note and kind of cartoonish.
Oh my God! So were the original Ghostbusters. They did that on the fact that they're doing that with these characters is because in the world of Ghostbusters, you want to see the four humors, and so that's very much represented by these four characters. Like the Ghostbusters or the Ninja. The Ghostbusters or the Ninja Turtles or Sex and the City, you want the four humors. And that's what we got in a sort of pop-o-matic bubble, jumbled them up kind of way. We got the four humors again. And that's the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, but the characters in the original film, do you understand the relationship between them? In this movie, the characters, because I didn't really feel like the writing, and again, I feel like this whole movie for me comes down to Feig and Dippold's inability to write a good script.
I don't know. I disagree. I found these characters so fun and very clear. I thought the fact that it was about a reconciliation of two friends from childhood to be really like heartwarming, and I enjoyed those characters very much. The one who's desperate for validation from any source that she considers legitimate, and the other one who has the passion within to be okay with not being recognized by other sources. I thought that was really heartwarming and important. And then the friend who is so out there and just so into her engineering that she doesn't realize until the end of the movie that she has never really had a relationship with people like this, and that she gets choked up at the end talking to them. It's huge. And then the arc that Patty goes on, where these are just three weirdos at the beginning, to being people who she socializes with and cares about. I think they went on more of a journey than you give that script credit for.
I just felt like the characters were so one-dimensional and flat that any attempt at telling a story between these four characters fell so flat because I never believed their interactions as characters. I never bought into it because the story, and I think that this is the biggest issue with this movie, and you can probably agree with me on this. The worst thing about this movie, the biggest hindrance for this movie, is that it's a Ghostbusters movie. It should have, if this movie had been anything else other than titled anything other than Ghostbusters, I don't think anyone would have had the massively negative opinion. I mean, Ivan Reitman ended up making another Ghostbusters movie in the mid-2000s. It's called Evolution, and it's pretty much just fucking Ghostbusters with aliens.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know it is.
Yep.
Paul Feig could have done his riff on the Ghostbusters formula and never had any name recognition, and this movie probably would have been a million times better because it wouldn't have felt necessary to pander to fans in ways that either they didn't like, which that's fine, ways that actively pissed them off. Again, they can't do anything about that, or just felt too like beat you over the head with it.
The thing about this is that Sony didn't want anyone to make that movie. Sony has spent the last 20 years trying to make a Ghostbusters movie. They didn't want Paul Feig's version of Ghostbusters. They wanted
I don't know why.
movie.
He's an immensely successful comedy director.
Who's
That's
great.
Why. I mean, they made their version of James. They made their version of James Bond with him. without James Bond.
Well,
so why not just do this?
But he's an excellent comedy / director. If he's going to do a cop comedy like The Heat, it's amazing. If he's going to do a spy comedy like Spy, it's amazing. He's totally the right person for the job. So instead of him using, because this was a match made in heaven, where you've got a guy who could have done, another 48 Hours, or he could have done another Lethal Weapon, or he could have anything like that very easily in the vein of The Heat. He could have done Austin Powers very easily in the vein of Spy. But this was the time when they recognized, shit, this guy's good at these things. Let's bring out the big guns and let him play with them. That's exactly what you do. When you've got a director who's already shown that he's excellent at this, and you've got a property like Ghostbusters that has just been sitting in development hell for 2 decades, then you fucking hire that guy and you make that movie. It was perfect.
I really feel like walking out of this movie, they had the opportunity to satiate the hardcore fans while making this movie if they had made some conscious decisions in the film that would have fixed it for a lot of the hardcore fans.
Like what?
And I mean, they should have just done this as a passing of the torch film.
Which it is.
What I mean, no, but it's not, because they throw like you mentioned, and I don't prescribe to this is the same universe as Ghostbusters. I don't. Okay. I mean, because they've said this is a reboot, right? I mean,
and so is JJ's Star Trek.
Right, but JJ's Star Trek, mind you, it's not like a full reboot. It's like a soft reboot because they still have the original TOS universe and the original. It's just, but it splits off of it at that juncture where the ship shows up. Yeah. They should have done a Force Awakens type thing with this movie, where they have, whatever, Bill Murray, not Harold Ramis obviously, but Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson. They should have had them in the movie as like passing the torch on in some form or fashion. These people don't even need to be their kids, which was like what everyone was like, oh, is Kate McKinnon's character Egon's daughter? I mean, you don't need to do that in so many ways, because I feel like then that's too kind of over the head with it. But they could have done it in a way like Force Awakens, where you have these characters that are not directly involved with the original characters, but through happenstance and events in the film, they become involved with those characters. And those characters hang up the proton pack, as it were, and pass it along to those characters. And so you get the goodwill of the original characters, but also you get to introduce new characters who the older characters can vouch for. And I think that would have shut up a lot of the people that have that are getting on the internet and are like losing their mind about this movie.
I think you're right.
I think it would.
I think it would have shut them up. But you know what? I think a little bit. Fuck them. I think a little bit.
Yeah, but
people,
having contempt for a fan base is kind of shitty.
But for people who can no, that's not a fan base. That's lunatics. That's having contempt for lunatics who can't step into 2016 and be okay with 4 women developing the technology and becoming the Ghostbusters independently of other people.
I'm not, but I don't think that the problem people are having is the women aspect of it.
Well, other people wouldn't have even met.
I would not have. See, that's the thing. I don't think I would have liked this movie if it had been, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, and Channing Tatum as the main characters. The writing for me just doesn't. The writing for me makes some conscious decisions that I'm just kind of scratching my head at. You mentioned that Ghostbusters has 2 movies, right? You mentioned that. But they also have the cartoon, the comic books, the video games. So they have this entire mythology. It's a modern mythology, just like Star Wars and Marvel.
With no canon or continuity, though. Like, there are only 3 movies that are canon. Well, there's 2 movies in a video game that are canon, and now there's a 4th movie that's canon. So here's the thing: if you do a bunch of cartoons,
canon, right?
Pardon me?
The 4th movie is its own canon. It's new canon. It's new mythology.
Yeah, well, we don't know yet what the relationship is. I think, I really honestly do believe when you're stepping into a New York City so radically different, so changed by the supernatural, that you have to acknowledge that what happened in the first 2 Ghostbusters movies happened. That's what's being said. If the people who have such a problem with this movie could like release their misogynist tension just long enough to take a good look at this movie, I think they would see that as well. I think they would see that this movie acknowledges the other ones and has a lot of room to be in that universe and for future films to acknowledge that even further. But the trick was to make a great Ghostbusters movie with 4 women and have them stand on their own. They didn't. You can't undercut them by saying, "Here, ladies, I built this for you," or "Hey, passing of the torch, you guys get to have this space now." They earned every single thing that they got in that movie, and that's what made the original Ghostbusters so awesome, and that's what makes these 4 Ghostbusters so awesome. They earned every inch of it.
It feels like to me that the movie wasn't about making a Ghostbusters movie. It was about stirring up the pot. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, it really does boil down to Sony made a conscious decision that's going to make them money.
Yep. Absolutely. They didn't do this to not make money.
Right. And like I was saying, one of the best things that they did was they made it so that there are people who hate it and people who love it, but people who hate it so vociferously that the people who love it are able to counteract them and like, I'm going to fucking go see this movie and I don't care what the misogynist men say.
Well, inside of the film, they managed to show screenshots of YouTube comments from the trailer in our world and play them as if they're comments on the Ghostbusters video that they posted in their world. And I just thought that was such a wonderful little fire starter. They're doing such a great job of calling bullshit on the people who are trying to call bullshit on them. And I just think it's smart and combative and just, it's balls to the wall, in your face. We're making this movie, and I don't care if 3 out of 4 of these guys are still alive. This is how you're going to watch this movie. And I think that's badass, especially because the people who wrote and produced this movie along with them also made the first one.
But they didn't write it; they just produced it.
Absolutely. People who were a part of this, of the production of this film, because Dan Aykroyd has given Sony a lot of scripts, a lot of Ghostbusters scripts. And so you can bet that he had plenty of input on this. And sure, he doesn't get a writing credit for that, but he had plenty of input on this. And there's a reason he's a producer on it.
Again, this whole thing strikes me more as trying to drum up the controversy than tell a story.
I think it's trying to do both. And I think that,
but one is going to be successful. But for me, one is successful and one isn't.
Well, for me, they're both successful.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's the whole point of this doing the podcast, right?
Yep.
Is that and I ultimately think that if anyone has an opinion, good or bad, they should go see it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think you're entitled to an opinion on this movie if you haven't seen it. If anybody comes up to me and says that this movie looks crappy because of the trailer, I don't care what you think about the trailer. I'm going to have a conversation about the movie. So go see the movie and then we can talk, because this movie is 100% worth seeing in a theater. The effects are spectacular. The sequences put all of the original Ghostbusters sequences to shame because they have the technology now to do that. And oh my God.
No.
Yeah.
Since when are they killing ghosts though?
Oh, I agree. That was pretty fucked up.
Okay, right. That's like they have like. See, here's the thing. That's where I go back to. Why the fuck are we making a Ghostbusters movie? Why not just call it something else? They make a point in the original Ghostbusters movie.
At the end, it became ghost killing. Absolutely.
Right. And in the original movie, it's all about catching ghosts and containing ghosts and studying ghosts. Egon goes on about that a lot. And this movie, it's let's just fucking kill some ghosts after we catch one. That then happens to kill Bill Murray.
Every ghost, every monster at the end of the film dies in the first Ghostbusters movie and the second Ghostbusters movie. So, there were just a lot more of them at the end of this one.
But
Gozer the Gozerian did not make it through that movie. Gozer the Gozerian died. Did not make it through that movie. He died.
But that's fine. But those were the two giant villains, so you would expect them to die.
Yeah. So it was absolutely stepping outside of the mold to do that in this one. And
right, but the problem
strange.
is they said in the movie, they said, we want to catch ghosts, and then Kate McKinnon's character is making things to kill ghosts. That's the thing. It doesn't even make any sense. You can't catch ghosts. It's like you can't catch criminals by killing them. That's how you imprison a criminal, is by shooting them in the head.
Oh, I agree. I found that pretty weird. But I don't know. I thought that by the end of it, when there were that many ghosts to contend with, I scratched my head a little bit. I was like, oh, since when are these lethal? Like, the proton packs don't have lethal beams, but the ghost chipper looked pretty deadly. So, there were certain moments where I was like, okay, is this inside of your universe, or have you built some rules of your game and you've started to break them already? There were moments of that, absolutely.
What did you think of the anthropomorphized Ghostbusters logo as the final form?
I thought it was pretty neat. It was weird, but it was cool.
I felt like that was just we get it, the fucking Ghostbusters movie. In Star Wars, you don't have them fighting the giant Star Wars logo. I was just like,
yeah, but the Ghostbusters logo exists inside of the Ghostbusters universe.
Right? No.
The Star Wars logo doesn't exist inside of the Star Wars universe. The Imperial logo does. So if you were fighting the Imperial logo, that'd be pretty weird. Which they essentially were when they were beating up a big circle.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, it's just, it felt like if you're going to have that and Stay Puft in the movie, which Stay Puft is in the movie, albeit in, like, a different form.
Yeah, like an old remembered version of a Stay Puft float from, like, the 30s was in the movie.
Which I've had people ask me, what ghosts were those? To which I responded, I have no idea what ghosts were possessing floats from. Some of the stuff in the movie, I'm like, whatever, fine. I'm not even going to think too much into it because I don't even think they thought that far into it.
Yeah, you know what? We're talking about a series of films wherein you can control the Statue of Liberty with a Nintendo controller designed for 2 dimensions only. So we're not exactly trying to make this make perfect sense.
But how they controlled the Statue of Liberty made sense in the universe. The Ghostbusters Stay Puft in the original made sense. In this one, it was just like, and here's a Stay Puft because.
Oh, the Stay Puft was there because it was.
Puft.
Yeah. That's enough of a because for me, because I'm a Ghostbusters fan.
So
that's all the because I need.
Let me ask you something. How did you feel about the cameos?
Oh, I like them. I like them all.
Oh, the Bill Murray, the Bill Murray. Okay, the Bill Murray one, I could really care less. I had heard, months ahead of time that that's what it was, and that he was gonna die. I had heard, and I mean, really, whatever, fine. The one that like cracked me up was the Dan Aykroyd cameo.
Yeah. Oh, Dan Aykroyd was excellent.
No, it cracked me up because it felt so shoehorned. He literally said, "I ain't afraid of no ghosts."
Yeah,
in a Ghostbusters movie. It was
brilliant.
It was so.
I laughed so hard at that. I enjoyed it so much.
It made me cringe. I was like, "Oh my god, really?" Like, we know it's a Ghostbusters movie. Like,
no, I like that so much because to me that's Ray Stantz.
But it's just, I don't know. It just, it felt like you have the original Ghostbusters, right, and the actors, right, and I mean. I'm not of that mindset where if you got to have them in the movie, they have to play their characters. Okay, there are people that was like one of their big issues was they're going to cameo, they need to play their characters. I don't really prescribe to that. That's fine. But what I will say is the cameos need to be a little more than the character's got its back to the screen and then they turn around, big reveal. I was like, oh fucking come on, that's like next level shit. That's garbage. That's the cheapest way to do a cameo.
I enjoyed Ray so much. I thought that was a great cameo.
But that's like the cheapest way to do a cameo, though, right? That's like a pretty cheap way to do a cameo.
No, not at all. There's nothing cheap about that. That was just a really well done character moment for Ray Stantz.
Oh, I'm also talking about Janine as the hotel desk clerk.
Janine was lovely. Oh, that was so good.
She had like back to the camera and she turned around and she was just like.
Yeah, that's not, no, Chris, those are moments that are pastiche for a reason. And they're moments where they're going for pastiche. No one with the amount of skill and talent of Paul Feig is accidentally making pastiche.
I mean, it's just, it's lantern hanging 101, right?
Totally.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
They're in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly
but here's the thing. I don't like it in any movie. It's not just Ghostbusters.
Well, then you have a personal preference there. But I.
Right.
That's not. It's like if you have a personal preference there and you want to see it acted upon, then you better start talking with Sony.
Yeah.
because there's one guy who.
I don't want to talk with Sony.
Yeah, because there's one guy who gets to say which way that goes, and his name's Paul.
Yeah.
And so he, I think, handled the I think he handled the intellectual property beautifully. I think he did a wonderful job of making the love I have of the first two movies and the problems I have specifically with the second movie and some problems I have as a 2016 audience member watching the original Ghostbusters movie. I think he does a great job of addressing those, of moving our culture forward, and of still having the heart of a Ghostbusters movie. I think everything about this movie I enjoyed entirely. And
you, Matt, skip it or watch it, best performance.
I think the best performance, honestly, was Kate McKinnon, because it was so out there and ridiculous. And I've written characters so similar to that in Tactical Girls that I really enjoyed how well she played to the audience I was in, at least. So I'd say Kate, and I'd say watch it for sure. Watch it. If you think you're going to hate it, watch it. If you think you're going to love it, watch it. If you want to just have an opinion, watch it. It's so worth seeing. Man, it's good. I've had people complain about just about everything you can complain about in this film. People saying that, oh, the ghosts are too neon. You realize Slimer was neon. You realize that the proton packs were bright frigging pink and orange. Like, this color palette is perfect. Everything about this new movie just punches the old movie up to the level it can be now. And I think that's what you're expecting from a movie like this. And honestly, I found it funnier. I found it tighter. I found it smarter.
Oh, I mean, I'm going to echo you in some respects. I think you can't, and I don't really like saying this. It's kind of like it's not like a dick thing to say, but it's one of those things where when someone says it to me, I'm like, all right, fine. But if you do want to if you have an opinion, but you haven't seen this movie, and your opinion is super strong, like some people's is, you should watch it. You need to watch it. Because
otherwise,
if you're going to complain about it, at least have a concise complaint.
Well, and have an educated opinion.
Right.
If you want to talk to me about the trailer, sure, but we're talking about the movie.
Right. So, I mean, if you want to watch the movie and then come talk to me and tell me you hate it, I'll listen to you more than someone who's just like, I saw the trailer, it looks like shit.
Exactly.
Okay. Best performance. I'll say this much. I'll give it to Leslie Jones because her character wasn't as bad as I was expecting her character to be. In regards to offensiveness of the way her character was handled. Because from the trailers that I saw, her character, I was assuming she was going to be just token sassy black woman. And
well, you know as well as I do that comedy plays very differently in a 2.5-minute trailer than it does in a 2-hour movie.
But and I don't know what your audience was like that you saw it with, but my audience, 4 p.m. on a Friday, theater was half full, half empty, however you look at it. The audience was not receptive to the film. I mean, they laughed twice, and one of the things that everybody laughed at was the scene from the trailer where Patty is smacking Melissa McCarthy's character.
Well, and that you saw how differently that scene played in the movie, where that second smack is delivered after she's already been excised, and so it's hilarious in the movie.
Well, they show that in the trailer, though. The trailer has the ghost flying off, but it's not. You're right. It's not context.
Yeah, the beats work so much better when you're watching the film and not just watching a shortened little comedic attempt at squeezing it into 8 seconds.
And again, I think that when we're talking about 21st century movies and trailers, and like you've said, the trailer thing and movies, it's so removed. They're removed from one another, even though they're doing the same thing. A trailer and a movie, they're so removed in what they're trying to achieve. It's really a huge span of different things. So,
I mean, the third time you write a movie is in the edit suite. So if you don't think that the trailer is going to be different than the movie, you don't know how movies are made.
And there's a lot of shit in the trailer that wasn't even in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are moments that didn't make it into the movie, or that were shot for the trailer. You know, that happens.
Or that were in the end credits.
Yes. Yep.
Right. And you know, I think that a lot of the issue with this movie, and this is just kind of, I think this movie, as far as I'm concerned, I have nothing more to say on this movie past this podcast. If they make a sequel, great. If they don't make a sequel, great. But honestly, I just want to stop hearing about this movie. Kind of like I wanted to stop hearing about Batman v
Superman. Yeah, me too.
I want to stop hearing about it. Let's move on to something else. There's a fucking Star Trek movie coming out next week. And
Speaking Speaking of not
and
moving
Suicide
on.
Squad.
Speaking of not moving on, did you see the ultimate cut of Batman v Superman?
I haven't yet because I don't hate myself.
Yeah, it's masochism. Anyone who wants to do that to themselves has a problem.
It's 30 minutes longer. That's what I've heard.
I of course did watch it. And I got to say, the only thing it does is make the editor look like he knows what he's doing. The writer and the director are still disasters. But the editor clearly would be happier with the longer version.
And see, I've heard, and I've had people tell me who loved the movie. So that was the thing; it didn't change anyone's opinion.
No,
that I knew. People that loved the movie, and it's kind of the whole same the Ghostbusters thing. If you hated Batman vs Superman when you saw it, the extended cut's not going to change anything. Just like I feel like if you went into Ghostbusters absolutely knowing you were going to hate it, you were probably going to still hate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like if you thought it looked great, it's going to be an awesome movie, you're probably going to enjoy it. I went into Ghostbusters completely. I didn't think the women involved were not my favorite female comedians. They're the most high profile for the most part. At least Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig are. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't like, fuck this movie, it looks like shit. And so, like I said, I just kind of, it's a meh. It's middle ground. And Batman vs. Superman, Ghostbusters, same thing. If you have a strong opinion about it, I doubt seeing the movie's going to change it. It may just give you more ammunition, frankly, to be like, see, it was shit. I told you.
I don't know. I went into this movie with really high expectations, and it delivered. And there have been times where I've gone into movies with high expectations, and I was very disappointed. So I feel like this is one of those scenarios where, it could have gone either way for me. It really could have been, I could have gone in there expecting a really great Ghostbusters movie and been really disappointed by something not well made. But this movie was very well made.
And like I said, I want to stop hearing about Ghostbusters. I want to stop hearing about Ghostbusters, Batman vs. Superman, and I'm trying to think what else.
Star Trek. I'm excited to start talking about Star Trek. That's true.
And Suicide Squad. I'm done hearing about those movies. I'm done. I mean, the Star Trek movie has been getting pretty good reviews. Mm-hmm. I honestly thought it looked goofy as shit in the previews. The previews for it have been all over the place.
The thing for me is that because Simon Pegg and Justin Lin were not happy with those trailers, that gave me great hope.
Right. Yeah.
That means those trailers were not the movie they made. And it seems like that's the case. It seems like,
and let's be honest here, trailers aren't good indicators of things all the time. Anyways, Edge of Tomorrow, fucking terrible trailers. Edge of Tomorrow, one of Tom Cruise's best films, hands down.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the trailers are terrible, and mind you, this is the machine getting involved. But you know, I want the Ghostbusters conversation, Batman vs. Superman. There's other things coming out. There's more exciting stuff coming out later this year that we need to start focusing on. I mean, I'm excited to watch Suicide Squad. I don't know if it's going to be good. I have no dog in that fight. But Batman vs. Superman set the bar so fucking low. The bar is set. I mean, the bar for Batman vs. Superman is about as low as it can get. So, Suicide Squad doesn't have to do much to kind of redeem the DC thing. So
it'll hit an easy $1 billion, and it'll make people wonder. Certainly, people at Warner Brothers wonder if they should ever put Superman in a movie again.
Yeah,
because all Superman does is make them make less money.
Right. But that's my thing.
Batman movies make $1 billion easy. But a Batman movie with Superman in it makes less than $1 billion? Shit.
And
that must be Superman.
It drops like 50% in 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Yeah. I want this conversation to be done because there's much more exciting stuff coming out later this year that we can start focusing on. Now that Ghostbusters is out in the wild, people can see it and make their own opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you still hate it, you still hate it. And if you still love it, you still love it. But at least now people can, at least
people can have an opinion now instead of just a bias. Because right now all it's been is bias. It's been people trying to come up with a reason why their bias is an opinion, and that reason has only been with a trailer. And so now they can actually go see it, and now they can actually have an opinion.
And the other flip of the coin is people who see other people's opinions and claim it's because of bias, too, on top of everything. It's everybody piling on this one movie and trying to blow everything out of proportion.
Absolutely.
What do you think it has on Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh, I'd give it a solid 80 on Rotten Tomatoes. I think people have generally liked it a lot.
73%.
73. Okay.
Ghostbusters does an impressive job of standing on its own as a freewheeling, marvelously cast supernatural comedy, even if it can't help but pale somewhat in comparison to the classic original. What do you think the audience score is?
Oh, shit, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I think the audience score is probably close to 80.
Audience score is 55%.
Really? Wow, well, that's interesting.
Which I feel like for me and a lot of the people I've talked to, like yourself, were really excited. Other people kind of middle of the road. Like I said, I don't really know anyone who's like, this movie looked like fucking turd. I knew no one who was that angry ahead of time.
I knew some people ahead of time that had that opinion about it. But yeah, I didn't really feel like it was going to be 55-45. That's very interesting.
Yeah. Is there anything you're working on now you want to plug, talk about before we wrap this up?
Nothing I'm currently allowed to say. So I'll just say fun things, exciting things, cool things I think you're going to enjoy seeing when they come out.
And I didn't see your name attached to the new Star Trek, so it's not Marmek.
No, it's not that. It's something else.
Much to my disappointment. I was convinced it was Star Trek.
That's interesting. You thought I would just lie to you about that, huh?
No, I mean, I don't think it's a lying thing. I think it's you didn't want to get in trouble if, you know, I mean, you could get in big trouble, right, with those NDAs and stuff.
Oh, absolutely. You can get in trouble. You can lose your gig. It's a big deal. Yeah, but
I don't think you would actively lie to me. I was just lying to everybody. Fuck you, by the way. No, I didn't think you were lying to me. No. Oh, well, great. You can follow me on Twitter at Kulturestash, and if you like the Kulturecast, head on over to Kultureshock.com. Check out 100+ episodes. I think Matt's been on a couple. We last year we did a bunch together. We did a whole month's worth in October.
Yeah, it's true. There's a good bunch in there.
Yeah. If you want to help us out over at Culture Shock, head on over to patreon.com/culture_shock to kick a couple dollars our way. It helps us keep the lights on. That song you hear at the beginning and the end of the podcast is Lament by Wovoka, and that is off their first self-titled album. This coming week, we're going to get back to the Shakespeare films with Richard III from 1995. And then on Thursday, we're going to be talking The Tempest from 2010. Matt, as always, thank you so much. This was, like I said, this is the first time we haven't agreed.
This is our first diametric opposition. Absolutely, yeah.
Very much so.
And I hope I gave you some stuff to chew on the next time you watch the original film.
Oh yeah. No, definitely. Cool. Again, I enjoy the original films. I'm not like I don't have an Ecto-1 in my garage. Let me put it that way.
You do, however, have a jumpsuit in your closet. So
yeah, no, the thing is, I don't have a proton pack. So
okay. So just part way.
I'm like not even like a third. I'm like an eighth of the way there.
Amazing. Well, I'll let you know when I see an Ecto-1 for sale.